Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So today we actually have quite a lot to go over. I'm going to be reacting and responding to another quartering video. We're going to be talking vaguely about Cyberpunk and also finally the nature of reviews, reviewers, criticism and all that kind of stuff. But before we begin, I just want to quickly say that if you enjoy my content, I highly recommend you go and follow me on Twitter or join my Discord. Links will both be down in the description. And the reason I'm saying this is because obviously I'm a small channel. I can't post updates here, so those two places are the best way to understand what's going on with my videos and what I have in the works. Now, with that out of the way, I figured I'd just set the stage slightly for this review. So obviously Cyberpunk's about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 days away. Everybody's frothing at the mouth to get their hands on it. And naturally, of course, the reviews are all starting to roll in. And despite overall the game reviewing just incredibly well, naturally people are drawn to the reviews that are somewhat contrarian. And amongst these rascal reviewers are of course every true gamer's favourite outlet, Polygon.
What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost.
Wait, hold the fuck up. Who's this guy? I thought this was supposed to be a quartering video I'm responding to. The thumbnail looks identical. So I guess it turns out that the quartering is big enough these days to spawn an entire wave of clones, and this guy is just one of them, as I'm only just finding out. This guy's pretty much taken the exact same style, the exact same subject matters, and the exact same opinion as the quartering on virtually every single topic he touches. But hey, you know what? Let's give this guy a shot. Let's give this guy a fair shake of the old stick. You never know. Maybe he'll have marginally better justifications for his opinions than the quartering.
Cyberpunk 2077 is dad rock, not new wave. Oh yeah, everyone hates old white men, don't they? And we are so close to the release of Cyberpunk 2077, just days away from the game that is more hyped than maybe any in recent memory. So many people want to jump into this game and into the world of Cyberpunk. But for right now, since they can't do that, they have to settle for looking at the reviews and picking apart what people are saying about this game, including a review that, of course, predictably from Polygon, is all about identity politics, and that's why they don't like this game.
Okay, so right off the bat, I want to give out a huge thank you to the fake quartering here, because he's basically told me from the get-go, perhaps unintentionally, that he didn't read the rest of the review, because firstly, they liked the game somewhat, and secondly, that's not really their main issue with it.
We're gonna jump into that, but first of all, let's look at the overview. Look at the Metacritic score, 91. Overall, really good, really solid score for Cyberpunk 2077. There are people out there that think this should be a 100, but let's be real, we haven't even got our hands on this game yet.
Dude, shut the fuck up. This is definitely going to be a 10 out of 10. How can you say anything other than that? It's so obvious. To be honest, the fact that he isn't immediately praising this game as the greatest thing since sliced bread just shows how much of a hack he is. I could just end the video here. This is a complete cell phone, to be honest.
But as you can see, 43 critic reviews. Now, some of them, 42 of them are positive, only 2 mixed at this point. Now, there are a lot that go into the unscored category. We've seen this stuff before. A lot of the negative ones are in the unscored, like the Polygon one that we're going to talk about.
Just quickly, this isn't like a major point of criticism or anything, but I do find it utterly hilarious that all of these guys have to dodge every single one of the positive reviews so they can go and specifically get mad about some random review way down there in the unscored section.
The Polygon one that is being praised by Anita Sarkeesian, which lets you know everything you need to know. It means this review is absolute dog shit.
Hey kids, do you want to know what's better than giving a game a 10 out of 10 that you haven't played? Talking shit about a review that you haven't read about a game you haven't played because someone you didn't like tweeted about it. That's some 9,000 IQ galaxy brain shit right there.
So these guys that are not giving it good scores are getting ripped to shreds. But the main one is this one. Of course, from Polygon, Cyberpunk 2077 is dad rock, not new wave. Oh yeah, everyone hates old white men, don't they?
So I know I mentioned earlier that he didn't read the review, but this is truly the line that really gives it away. If you read the review, you can tell that the title was there because she feels the game is somewhat old hat. It had nothing to do with sticking it to the cis white male. And do you want to know what's extra ironic about something like this? This is precisely the type of person that would claim that liberals are tripping over everything to get offended by any tiny little detail. But he's managed to draw offense from something that just is complete projection.
CD Projekt Red's open world game does not exactly have a futuristic worldview. Now I have to give a shout out to Andrew from the Geeks and Gamers team, because he posted it in the chat, and I saw that he said the first 8 paragraphs are all about how offensive this is to the trans community.
Okay, this one's weird, so I guess we just forgot how to count. There's actually 6 paragraphs that even talk about trans issues, and secondly, the writer doesn't necessarily say that the game is offensive to the trans community. She's actually just talking about the lack of positive representation. Those are 2 distinctly different things, although admittedly they're both concerned with trans issues, but that's the only real connecting thread.
That's exactly what it is. I cannot believe that we are still talking about this months and months later, that this is the first thing you decide to talk about.
And you want to know what I can't believe? I can't believe you're this mad about an article that nobody forced you to read. Really, truly incredible work here. So he goes on for a little while, just talking about how the opening of this article talks about trans issues. He stays pretty mad for quite a long time, so I'm just going to skip ahead of all of that and get to the meat.
So let's just hop into this part of it. Before you hit the streets of Night City, you'll construct your version of the game's central character V in a process indicative of one of Cyberpunk 2077's most glaring problems. For whatever reason, among all the hairstyles, eyes, makeup, tattoos, genitals are included as part of the character creation process, with 2 penis options and 3 size settings for each and 1 vagina. You can also opt not to select genitals at all, always viewing V in panties or boxers at a bare minimum. Now, why is this a problem? I guess I don't understand why customization is a problem.
Nothing described in this first paragraph is a problem, and she never claimed it was a problem. You're just not reading ahead, basically, and making stupid statements.
Thankfully, your character's gender is not tied to your choice of genitals. Oh, thank God. You can create a dude with a vagina or a lady with a penis. That's no problem. But because of everything else about how this game handles trans identity, this hardly feels like the progressive step it should be. Rather than just letting you pick your pronouns independently of all your other creation choices, your pronouns are assigned based on your selection of voice. Pick the feminine voice and your pronouns are she, her, and vice versa. There are no non-binary pronoun options. Oh my God! No they, them in this. So we will let you create basically the closest thing. You can do whatever you fucking want to this character, but they don't have the pronouns that I want. It's tied to their voice. My God, please give this game a bad review now. That's what we have going on here.
I'm hoping not to repeat myself too much, so just bear in mind that this isn't a bad review and he's just projecting that for some completely insane reason or because he didn't read the rest of the review, but whatever. But in terms of the substance of what he's talking about, I actually do find it kind of odd that you can't pick your pronouns. At the end of the day, they've clearly coded in he and her pronouns, so I don't really understand why they've made it specific to voice. And as far as adding in they, them pronouns, you gotta bear in mind that this is just one author, this is just one person who's sharing their thoughts on how the game could have been potentially improved or made more inclusive for more people. So just to sum it up, what we functionally have is somebody who is moaning at somebody else for sharing their thoughts on how the game could have been improved, which is often the job of a reviewer.
As a trans woman with a voice that many would not describe as feminine, this direct linking of gender identity to having a voice sounds masculine or feminine feels weirdly essentializing. And then they bring up all of this shit from before. We talked about it before, the Mix It Up poster that featured a trans person that said Mix It Up on the thing. That was considered offensive to some members in this community. The idea that someone made a joke, did you assume my gender? They're bringing that up again.
I find this section really funny because he's clearly just projecting again. The review never spoke about a joke being offensive towards the trans community whatsoever in regards to this poster. She was actually talking about it potentially being objectifying of trans people. And just to summarise the writer's thoughts, she's basically saying that if you have a poster objectifying trans people, but then you have no commentary on that or any trans characters within the game that could potentially grapple with this issue, then ultimately you kind of are just objectifying trans people. Now, you can agree or disagree with that, that's fine, but this guy has mischaracterized her words to an insane degree.
It is all about identity politics with these people.
Okay, chat, I'm gonna give you a little life tip here. Never state this. Never say what this guy has said, because ultimately, almost every decision in a game is inevitably going to be political. You either end up reinforcing the status quo or pushing politics forward. So the idea that everything is about politics to these types of people is actually kind of bullshit, because almost everything is political and you just happen to benefit from the status quo, so of course you're not going to mention it.
I could have forgiven it for the rest if the rest of the game took strides to humanize trans identities, but boy, it sure doesn't. Ubiquitous throughout Night City are ads for a beverage called Chromanicure that features a female-coded model with a penis visible through the skin-tight clothing, like we've talked about before. We're not going to spend too much time on that. Look at all of this, all about gender, all about her experience as a trans woman and why she doesn't like this game.
What else do you expect her to write about? I mean, she wrote about the game, and I mean, if she's a trans person and the game somewhat talks about or tackles trans issues, then why would you not bring that experience in? Surely that just makes perfect sense. This would be like criticizing a footballer reviewing a football game and then them talking about how the football game handles football.
That is what it is about, and that is why so many people are laughing at this person right now. And the fact that Anita Sarkeesian said even just a few years ago, we would never had a mainstream review of we would never had a review of a mainstream AAA game that dedicates the opening 7 paragraphs to the game's success or failure at trans representation. That's not nothing. What it is fucking pointless. That is so stupid.
I just want to quickly point out that he actually hasn't given a reason as to why this is a stupid thing to do. He's pretty much asserted his opinion in the most smug way possible and just, I guess, expected people to agree with him. I mean, it's working so far. The video's got a lot of views, so you know what? Good stuff, my guy. Well played.
The idea that you were praising that. Nothing about the gameplay, nothing about the immersive experience, nothing about the technology. No, instead you're talking about your gender identity and how it made you feel when you played this game. And to be honest, I think it's laughable.
Do you want to know what I think's laughable? I think it's pretty laughable that you managed to make an entire video about the opening 7 paragraphs of this article, decided not to read the rest of it, and made statements like, you didn't talk about the gameplay. Fucking oops.
I think that there are going to be some reviews that come out, like we said, that focus on some meat when it comes to the bugs. I think that is going to be what more people talk about when you actually hear negative things about this game than any other.
Yep, this guy who hasn't played the game has it all worked out. The only negatives in any of the reviews are definitely going to be the bugs and not stuff like the philosophical quandaries like this person has mentioned, or perhaps how the stories fall flat like this person mentioned. So after this point, he more or less just does what every reactionary loves to do and go through a bunch of fucking irrelevant Twitter threads. Like, he legitimately just goes straight fishing for the most insane possible people he can find on Twitter, which, I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of them and you're not going to be in any short supply, that's for sure. But I just don't really understand what you're trying to prove here. This isn't how an honest person would tackle this article. This isn't how anyone who has a legitimate issue of this article should be looking at this. This is such an insanely just bad faith way of approaching this conversation that it's honestly a bit mind-blowing. But I think for me personally, the worst part about this video is that there are actually legitimate criticisms of the article. It doesn't really mention much of the technical aspects of Cyberpunk. It doesn't mention the bugs that much. It doesn't talk about the in-depth tech trees and mechanics and all that stuff. Now, admittedly, this is a review more or less just dissecting the themes and the overall feel of the game, which I think has its place as well, but it still would have been nice to have a more in-depth look under the hood. But I do once again just want to reiterate that you really can't trust what these types of people say, because at the end of the review she does more or less say, is it a bad game? No. Is it a great game? No. It's something. It's fine. I think that's fine. I don't think we should be pushing reviewers to give every single game a 9 out of 10 without any critical eye placed on it. I think it's fine that this one person had some personal issues with it, had some story issues with it, but overall thought it was fine.
Now for me, I have pre-ordered Cyberpunk. I pre-ordered it a long time ago. It's one of the very few things I've pre-ordered in recent memory, and it's taken a while to get here, but I will give my thoughts, and I'll try to be as honest as possible about it. I know I'm not going to spend 7 paragraphs or a lot of time talking about how it made me and my gender identity feel.
Perhaps not, but you will make a shitty 10-minute video talking about how an article about the game made you feel. Top quality. So that pretty much wraps us up. If you've been playing Cyberpunk over the last couple days, please feel free to let me know what you think of it. If you enjoyed the video as well, please make sure to leave a like, comment, or subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it that much, and I guess I'll see you guys around.